The first glass shattered beneath Nia Carter's feet. The second scattered across the marble like ice. By the time billionaire Damien Roth entered the West Ballroom, his black maid was hanging several feet above the floor from a decorative maintenance harness, her wrists trapped behind her, while his fiancé stood below her with another crystal glass raised in one hand. Celeste. Damien's voice thundered across the empty ballroom. Celeste froze. The glass slipped from her fingers. It smashed beside the others. Nia looked toward Damien, breathing hard but refusing to cry. Damien's eyes moved from her to the glittering floor. Something was wrong with the broken glass. One piece carried a strip of red tape around its base. He recognized it immediately. It came from his private security room. 3 hours earlier, nobody expected the evening to end that way. Damien Roth had invited 40 investors to the mansion for a private charity dinner. Nia had spent the afternoon supervising preparations, checking tables, coordinating staff, and making certain everything ran the way Damien's late mother had taught her. She had worked at Roth Manor for 5 years. Celeste Arden had lived there for 5 months. That was enough time for Nia to learn one important truth about her. Celeste never shouted when Damien was home. She whispered, "You missed a fingerprint." She would say it while pointing at an already polished mirror. "Do it again." Or she would move a vase herself, then accuse staff of touching her belongings. Small things. Cruel enough to control people. Careful enough to deny. Nia tolerated it because the job mattered. Her younger brother had just opened a small auto shop, and Nia had guaranteed part of the loan. If she lost her income, he could lose everything. Celeste discovered that during her first month in the mansion. After that, the threats became more specific. People with debts shouldn't make powerful enemies. Nia never answered. Then, on the afternoon of the dinner, she found something she could not ignore. A crystal glass sat alone on Damien's private office desk. Around its stem was a thin strip of red security tape. Only items removed from the evidence cabinet downstairs were marked that way. Nia stared at it. The glass looked ordinary except for a faint cloudy residue around the rim. She was still examining it when Celeste entered. "What are you doing?" Nia turned. "Why is this from the security room?" Celeste's expression changed for less than a second. Then came the smile. "You clean rooms, Nia. You don't investigate them." "I know Mr. Roth keeps evidence from the break-in last year downstairs." Celeste walked toward her. "Put the glass down." Nia did, but not before noticing something scratched into the base. A number. Celeste picked up the glass and slipped it inside her handbag. "You saw nothing." Nia looked at her. "What happened in room 417? Celeste's smile disappeared. There was no room 417 in Roth Manor. But Damien owned another property downtown, the Roth Grand Hotel. Room 417 had been closed for renovation for almost a year. That night, while the investors arrived, Nia searched the staff computer. The hotel record for 417 had been erased. Not reserved. Not cancelled. Erased. Then she found an old incident report cached in the system. 11 months earlier, a woman named Rachel Arden had been found unconscious inside room 417 after attending a Roth Foundation event. Arden. Celeste's surname. The report listed Rachel as Celeste's older sister. Before Nia could read further, the screen went black. Celeste stood behind her. "You really don't know when to stop." Nia rose slowly. "Your sister was in that room." Celeste locked the office door. "My sister made terrible decisions." "What happened to her?" "She tried to blackmail the wrong people." Nia's stomach tightened. "Damien knows?" Celeste laughed. "Damien knows the version I gave him." She removed the red-marked glass from her handbag. "He believes Rachel broke into the hotel suite and tried to steal confidential documents. And the glass. That was the only thing she left behind." Celeste stepped closer. "The problem is security recently found it again." "Again?" "It disappeared from evidence for months." Nia looked at the glass. Something small moved inside the hollow base. Not residue. A folded object. Celeste saw where she was looking. Too late. Nia grabbed the glass. Celeste attacked. They struggled across the office until the glass rolled beneath a cabinet. Nia reached for it, but 2 private guards entered. Celeste instantly began crying. She attacked me. The guards seized Nia. Check the glass, Nia shouted. There's something inside it. Celeste's tears vanished. Take her to the ballroom. The charity dinner had moved outside to the terrace for photographs, leaving the huge ballroom temporarily empty. The decorative harness had been installed earlier for workers hanging chandeliers. Nia understood Celeste's plan only when the guards locked the straps around her. You're insane, Nia said. No. I'm removing a witness. The motor lifted Nia above the marble floor. Celeste dismissed the guards. Then she gathered crystal glasses from the nearby bar. One by one, she smashed them beneath Nia. If you manage to get free, Celeste said, you'll land in glass. Nia stared down at her. You won't get away with this. Celeste lifted the red-marked evidence glass. I already did once. She raised it to smash it with the others. That was when the ballroom doors opened. Damien stood there. And when the evidence glass shattered, something fell from its hollow base and slid across the marble directly toward his shoe. A tiny memory card. Damien bent down and picked it up. Celeste stopped breathing. Nia looked at him. Whatever is on that card, she said, your fiancé was willing to hang me from the ceiling to keep you from seeing it. Damien closed his fingers around the memory card. Get her down. The two guards hesitated. Now. They rushed to the control panel. The harness descended slowly, while Nia stared at the broken glass beneath her. Stop, she shouted. Too late. Her shoes touched the edge of the shattered crystal. Damien crossed the room, swept his jacket across the floor, and cleared enough space for her to step safely down. Celeste watched him help her. Something cold entered her expression. She attacked me first, she said. Damien ignored her. He looked at the red tape still clinging to one broken shard. This came from my evidence cabinet. Celeste folded her arms. Then she stole it. Nia laughed once, exhausted. You were holding it when he walked in. I took it away from you. Damien turned toward the guards. Who ordered you to put Nia in that harness? Neither man answered. Celeste's voice sharpened. I did. She became violent. Damien stared at her. You suspended an employee above broken glass because she became violent. She threatened me. Then why didn't you call me? For the first time, Celeste had no immediate answer. Damien took Nia's arm gently. Can you walk? Yes. Come with me. Celeste stepped between them. You're seriously choosing her story over mine? No, Damien said. I'm choosing evidence. He walked toward the security room. The memory card required an isolated computer because Damien refused to connect unknown devices to the mansion network. Nia stood behind him as he inserted it. One file appeared. 417_final. Celeste reached the doorway just as Damien opened it. The screen showed a hotel room. Room 417. The recording was dated 11 months earlier. Rachel Arden entered first. Alive. Nervous. Carrying a folder. Then Celeste entered behind her. Nia looked toward Damien. He did not move. On screen, Rachel placed the folder on a table. You said Damien would be here. Celeste closed the door. He doesn't need to be. Rachel looked frightened. I'm not signing anything. A third person entered the frame. Damien leaned closer. The man was Victor Kane, former chief financial officer of Roth Industries. Damien had fired him 10 months earlier for manipulating construction accounts. Victor poured something into a crystal glass. The same glass that had been stored in evidence. Rachel backed away. What is that? Victor smiled. Something that makes bad memories easier to manage. Celeste picked up the glass and held it toward her sister. Rachel knocked it away. The recording jumped. 10 minutes disappeared. Then Rachel was lying unconscious on the carpet. Victor stood over her. Celeste was searching Rachel's folder. Damien whispered, What did you do? Celeste stepped toward the computer. The video is fake. Nia looked at her. Your own sister is in it. It's edited. Damien paused the recording. Inside Rachel's folder was a Roth Industries logo and the words, Project Glasshouse. Damien recognized it. Glasshouse had been a confidential internal investigation into missing pension funds from one of his subsidiaries. Only 5 executives knew it existed. Rachel had not been blackmailing anyone. She had been a whistleblower. Damien's face tightened. You told me Rachel broke into the hotel. She did. You told me she overdosed after trying to steal files. She was unstable. Nia stepped forward. Then why did you need the memory card destroyed? Celeste's eyes flashed. Before she could answer, an alarm sounded from the evidence vault. Damien looked at the screen. Vault access. Authorized. That's impossible, he said. Only I can open it. A second line appeared. User, D. Roth. Someone was using Damien's credentials. He ran. Nia followed. They reached the lower security corridor just as the vault door opened. A man in a maintenance uniform stepped out carrying 3 evidence cases. Damien recognized him instantly. Victor Kane. He was supposed to be in federal prison. Victor smiled. Still trusting the wrong women, Damien? Then he threw one case toward the floor. Celeste screamed. Don't. Inside the transparent case was a sealed vial marked with Rachel Arden's name. Victor caught it before it shattered. He looked at Celeste. You said the maid was handled. Celeste went completely still. Damien turned toward her. Victor laughed. Oh, she didn't tell you? He raised the vial. Rachel wasn't the only person they tested this on. Nia felt Damien's eyes shift toward her. Victor pointed directly at Nia. Ask your maid why she can't remember what happened in room 417 the night before Rachel was found. Nia stared at Victor. What are you talking about? Victor's smile widened. Exactly. Damien stepped between them. You come near her. I break every rule in this building. Victor lifted both hands. Relax. I'm not the one who erased her memory. Nia's pulse hammered. Room 417. She had searched the hotel records because the number felt strangely familiar. She had told herself it was curiosity. Now she understood why. Damien turned to her. Were you at the Rothgren that night? I don't remember. Celeste finally spoke. That's because she wasn't. Victor laughed. Still cleaning up your lies? He opened the evidence case and removed a second vial. Its label read, Nia Carter, 417. Nia's knees weakened. Damien caught her arm. What did you do to her? Celeste backed away. Victor answered instead. Project Glasshouse wasn't only about stolen pension money. The executives involved needed a way to silence people without creating obvious victims. He held up the vial, a drug that caused confusion, memory gaps, and temporary unconsciousness. Nia felt sick. Damien's face became deadly calm. My company funded this? Unofficially. Victor nodded toward Celeste. Her sister Rachel found the testing records. Nia found Rachel before we could move her. Fragments flashed through Nia's mind. A hotel corridor. A woman crying. A broken glass. Someone saying, please don't leave me. She grabbed the edge of the desk. I saw Rachel. Victor nodded. You found her in room 417 the night before the official incident. She gave you something. What? That's what everyone has been trying to learn. Celeste snapped. He's lying. Victor looked amused. Then why did you keep Nia employed for 5 years? Damien turned sharply toward Celeste. Nia did too. Celeste had always acted like she hated her. But she had never actually fired her, no matter how many excuses she had. You needed me close, Nia whispered. Celeste's face hardened. You had something Rachel stole. No, Victor said. Something Rachel protected. Damien ordered security to lock Victor down. Victor stepped backward and pressed a small remote. The corridor door sealed. Gas began hissing through the vents. Not again, Nia whispered. Victor smiled. Memory is such a fragile thing. Damien grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed the nearest ventilation grate. Nia pulled the alarm while Celeste ran toward the emergency stairs. Stop her, Damien shouted. Nia followed. Celeste reached the hotel service elevator hidden behind the evidence wing. As the doors opened, Nia caught her sleeve. Where did Rachel hide it? Celeste slapped her. You already know. The contact triggered another flash. Rachel pushing a brass key into Nia's hand. A Maid supply card. A ceiling vent. 4 numbers written in lipstick. 4-1-7-9. Nia froze. Celeste saw recognition in her face. You remember. Nia ran. Not toward room 417. Toward the mansion's old laundry wing. 5 years earlier, before Roth Manor was renovated, Supply Closet 417 had been renumbered. It was now room 9. Nia reached the abandoned closet and tore open the ceiling vent. Inside sat a small metal box covered in dust. Damien arrived behind her, coughing from the gas. Open it. Nia used the brass key from the evidence cabinet. Inside were financial ledgers, photographs, and a handwritten note from Rachel. If Nia finds this, I failed to get out. Damien read over her shoulder. The next line stopped him cold. Damien's father is not dead. Nia looked at him. Damien's father had supposedly died in a private plane crash 6 years earlier. Rachel's note continued. Victor and Celeste are keeping him alive because only he knows where the original glasshouse accounts are. A final photograph lay beneath the letter. Damien picked it up with shaking hands. His father, older and thin, sat inside an unfamiliar concrete room. Behind him was a digital clock. The photograph had been taken 3 days ago. Damien whispered, "Where is he?" Nia turned the picture over. One sentence had been written on the back. Ask the woman who hung Nia from the ceiling. They both looked toward the corridor. Celeste was gone. Then Damien's phone rang. Celeste appeared on video. Behind her, tied to a chair, sat Damien's father. Alive. Bring Rachel's box to the Roth Grand, Celeste said. Room 417. She raised a gun beside the old man's head. And this time, Nia comes alone. Room 417 had been sealed for 11 months. By the time Nia reached the Roth Grand, police already surrounded the block, but Damien had obeyed Celeste's demand and kept them 2 streets away. He stood beside Nia beneath the hotel awning. You are not going in alone. She said your father dies if I don't. She also hung you over broken glass. Nia held Rachel's metal box tightly. Then we stop letting her decide what fear makes us do. Damien looked at her for a long moment, then handed her a small earpiece. I'll be 1 floor below. Room 417 waited at the end of a dark corridor. Its renovation boards had been removed. The door stood open. Nia entered. Damien's father, Jonathan Roth, sat tied to a chair near the window. He looked older than the photograph, his beard gray and his shoulders thin, but his eyes were unmistakably Damien's. Celeste stood behind him. Victor Kane stood beside the bed. You brought the box, Celeste said. Nia placed it on the table. Let him go. Victor opened the lid and searched through Rachel's ledgers. His expression changed. The account key isn't here. Celeste grabbed Nia's arm. Where is it? I don't know. Jonathan lifted his head. She does. Nia looked at him. You were here that night, he said weakly. Rachel gave you the final access phrase before they drugged you. Victor's patience vanished. He pulled out a syringe. We can always help her remember. Nia backed away. The sight of the needle triggered another fragment. Rachel kneeling beside the hotel bed. Broken crystal scattered across the carpet. Rachel whispering. Glass remembers what people erase. Nia's eyes moved toward the minibar. 4 untouched glasses stood upside down. One was old, different. Its base carried the same cloudy residue as the evidence glass. She grabbed it. Celeste raised her gun. Put that down. Nia turned the glass toward the lamp. Tiny numbers had been etched around the rim. Not random numbers. Bank routing digits. Rachel had hidden the account key in plain sight. Victor lunged. Nia smashed the glass against the wall. Celeste screamed. The base separated without breaking. Inside was a paper-thin metal strip. Victor struck Nia across the face and grabbed it. Then the hotel lights died. Damien had cut the floor power. Emergency lighting flashed red. Jonathan kicked his chair backward into Celeste's knees. The gun fired into the ceiling. Nia tackled Victor before he could reach the door. The metal strip skidded beneath the bed. Damien burst into room 417. For one impossible second, father and son simply stared at each other. Dad. Jonathan's face collapsed. You grew up. Damien crossed the room and cut his restraints. Victor tried to escape through the bathroom, but Detective Shaw entered from the service passage with armed officers. Hands where I can see them. Victor stopped. Celeste did not. She crawled beneath the bed and found the metal strip. Then she ran through the connecting suite. Nia followed. The adjoining room had been stripped for renovation. Plastic sheets covered the walls. An exposed elevator shaft opened behind a temporary barrier. Celeste stood at its edge. "Stay back." She held the account key over the darkness. "If this disappears, nobody gets the glasshouse money." Nia stopped. "You think this is about money? It is always about money."
No.
"That's why you lost." Celeste laughed. "You still don't understand what Rachel found. Glasshouse wasn't stealing pension funds." Damien entered behind Nia with Jonathan. Celeste looked at him. It was buying silence. Jonathan closed his eyes. Damien turned toward his father. "What does that mean?" Jonathan answered painfully. "Executives paid victims to disappear. When money failed, Victor used the drug." Nia understood the missing memories, Rachel's disappearance, and the false reports. Celeste held up the strip. "The accounts contain every payment. Judges,
Doctors. Police.
your own board." "Then drop it," Nia said. Celeste blinked. "You heard me. Drop it." Damien stared at her. Nia continued. "Rachel hid more than one copy. People like her don't risk their lives on a single piece of metal." Celeste's confidence faltered. That was all Nia needed. She stepped forward. Celeste backed away. The temporary barrier snapped. Celeste fell over the edge. Nia caught her wrist. For a second they hung there, Celeste above the shaft, Nia on the floor holding the woman who had nearly killed her. "Let me fall," Celeste gasped.
No.
"Why?" "Because you don't get to turn me into you." Damien and an officer pulled Celeste up. The metal strip disappeared into the shaft. Victor laughed from the doorway. "All this for nothing." Jonathan shook his head.
No.
He looked at Nia. "Rachel made 3 copies. Then his expression changed. "One went to me." "Where?" Damien asked. Jonathan looked toward the shattered evidence glass Nia had brought from the mansion. The red tape wasn't marking evidence. It was marking the copy. Nia's stomach dropped. The memory card they had watched earlier contained only the video. But the glass fragments were still at Roth Manor. And inside one of those fragments was the complete Glasshouse account archive. At that exact moment, Damien's phone vibrated. "Mansion security alert. Fire detected. West Ballroom." Someone was burning the broken glass. By the time Damien's car reached Roth Manor, flames were licking across the West Ballroom curtains. Fire crews filled the driveway. Nia jumped out before the car stopped. "The glass." A firefighter blocked her. "You can't go inside." Damien showed his identification. "Where did the fire start?" "Center of the ballroom." Someone poured accelerant directly over the debris. Celeste was already in police custody. Victor was under arrest. So someone else had been protecting Glasshouse. Jonathan stared at the burning windows. "The board," he whispered. "One of them knows what Rachel hid." Nia remembered the charity dinner. 40 investors, executives, people who had watched her hang above shattered crystal and said nothing. Then she remembered something smaller. While Damien lowered her from the harness, one guest had quietly kicked a red-marked shard beneath a table. Arthur Wynn, chairman of Roth Industries, Damien's oldest advisor. "He was here," Nia said. Damien looked at her. "Arthur Wynn." They found his car abandoned near the servants' entrance. Inside was an empty fuel can. Detective Shaw immediately issued an alert. But Nia was no longer looking at the fire. She was looking upward. The chandelier maintenance harness still hung from the ballroom ceiling. The night Celeste suspended her, Nia had seen the evidence glass reflected in its polished metal hook. When the glass shattered, one fragment had flown upward and lodged inside the harness pulley. "The fire is on the floor," she whispered. Damien understood. "The copy isn't." Firefighters entered through the east side and controlled the flames enough for a retrieval team to reach the sealing mechanism. 20 minutes later, an officer emerged carrying a scorched metal pulley. Inside it was a tiny red-taped shard. Jonathan nearly collapsed when he saw it. A microscopic storage strip had been laminated inside the glass itself. Rachel had hidden the complete Glasshouse archive where no ordinary search would find it. Detective Shaw connected it to an evidence terminal. Hundreds of files appeared. Payments, medical records, false settlements, drug testing reports, judges,
Doctors.
corporate officers. Then one name appeared repeatedly at the top. Arthur Wynne. Damien stared at it. Arthur had been his father's closest friend. He had attended Rachel's funeral. He had comforted Damien after Jonathan's death. And he had personally recommended Celeste as a foundation consultant. He built the whole thing around us, Damien said. A message suddenly appeared on Damien's phone. Unknown number. Come to the roof if you want one alive. Nia looked upward. No, Jonathan said. It's a trap. Damien was already moving. Nia followed. On the rooftop terrace, Arthur stood beside the stone railing. He held no gun. Only a phone. You found Rachel's copy, he said. Damien stopped several feet away. You burn my house for it. Arthur smiled sadly. Your father always believed evidence could save people. Jonathan stepped onto the roof behind them. It can. Arthur's expression twisted. You should have stayed dead. That sentence was enough. Detective Shaw, hidden near the stairwell, recorded it. Arthur realized too late. He reached into his coat. Nia shouted, Damien. Arthur drew a pistol. Jonathan moved toward his son. But Damien did not freeze this time. He knocked the weapon aside before Arthur could fire. The gun slid across the wet roof. Arthur lunged after it. His shoes lost traction. He went over the railing. Damien caught his wrist. Arthur dangled above the courtyard. Let me go, he gasped. Damien looked down at the man who had destroyed his family. Then at Nia. She had once saved Celeste from the elevator shaft. He understood. Damien pulled Arthur back up. Police handcuffed him. You don't deserve mercy, Damien said. You deserve a trial. The Glass House archive destroyed careers across the country. Arthur Wynne, Victor Kane, Celeste Arden, corrupt doctors, executives, and officials were charged in a conspiracy involving fraud, unlawful drug testing, kidnapping, obstruction, and attempted murder. Rachel Arden survived. She had been living under federal protection after escaping Victor months earlier. The missing woman in room 417 had eventually reached investigators, but the conspiracy had been too deeply embedded to expose safely until Nia recovered the evidence. Jonathan Roth's survival was made public. Marcus's name was cleared. Every victim identified in the files received compensation from assets seized from Glass House members. Damien dissolved the old board and created an independent oversight council. Then he asked Nia to join it. Not as staff. As director. You are the first person who noticed the glass, he told her. Nia looked toward the restored ballroom. And almost died because of it. That is exactly why nobody in this company should ever again be punished for noticing something powerful people want ignored. Nia accepted. Months later, the West Ballroom reopened. The chandelier hung above polished marble. Beneath it stood a glass display case containing one scorched crystal fragment wrapped in red tape. The plaque read, She was called a maid. She saw the evidence everyone else stepped over. Damien joined Nia beneath the chandelier. Do you hate this room? He asked. She looked upward at the place where Celeste had suspended her.
No.
Why? Because I came down. Damien smiled. And everyone who put you there? Nia looked at the red shard. They came down too. The broken glass Celeste had scattered beneath the helpless Maid was meant to make escape impossible. Instead, one forgotten piece brought down an entire empire of lies.